video. I'm gonna try to make it quick. I do have an organized list, but baby, it's jam-packed. The truth about hero dosing, there's so much to unpack with this because I've never talked about it. Have I hero dosed before? Absolutely. But let's just break that down, get to an understanding and a baseline of what that is, and then we will go from there. Hero dosing. It is a phrase that was coined by Terrence McKenna. If you do not know who Terrence McKenna is, I have referenced him and his brother before. The McKenna brothers have made significant contributions to the psychedelic space, and Terrence McKenna specifically is an ethnobotanist. If you don't know what that is, look it up. That's your homework. And so his parameters for hero dosing is that it is 5 grams alone in the dark, and the point of it is to have deeply introspective, life-changing experiences within the course of like maybe 8 hours. At least that's how I understand it from all the digging that I've done. The intent also behind it is to invoke ego dissolution, have spiritual insights, to transcend consciousness, and potentially to confront difficult psychological material. My experience with hero dosing is rooted in the term of a psychonaut. I know you're probably like, girl, what is that? A psychonaut is someone who seeks to explore altered states of consciousness and unpack their minds through the means of integrated mushrooms. They are really seeking personal growth and transformation more than they are anything else. I also am going to add another layer that I feel like psychonauts are also people who are looking to use mushrooms as a method of discovery. Like, I wonder what's going to come up, right? Sometimes people do mushrooms intently to say, hey, I know I got a lot going on. You know, I'm ready to face my stuff, or, you know, I need help accepting things or accepting the reality of what I got going on. And so during those tough times that they're already having, they introduce some type of psychedelic in order to take it to the chin. Another good phrase that came up as it pertained to psychonauts, I'm going to read it verbatim. In a broader sense, the term reflects a deeper, almost scientific approach to the inner workings of the mind, often documenting and analyzing their experiences and using them as a part of a larger collective exploration of consciousness. A psychonaut is the difference between courage and recklessness. And I think that really sums it up as it pertains to me specifically. However, how much have I done? Have I done 5 grams? Absolutely. I've done that easily. 5 grams is nothing. Only because a 3-5 will put me right where I need to be most times, but if I want to take it up a notch, I can do a 5. 5 is nothing. I've done larger numbers like 8, 10, 12. I've even done 14 in one day. I've rotated a 14, and when I say rotated, I mean that I did something called cycling. It's kind of like how people eat in waves, or how a lot of people smoke weed in waves. They might wake up in the morning, smoke a blunt, it's 10 a.m. By 12 o'clock, they done already rolled up again, and by 12:15, they smoking another blunt. If within them 2 hours, they was high from 10 to 12, and then they started coming down closer to 12 o'clock, and then at 12:15, they gonna smoke again, so they gonna go right back up. And you know, it's just continuing up and down. I've cycled mushrooms in that way as well. What I will say is that the difference with hero dosing is that there are some key points that I do want y'all to be aware of. Number one, it can be overwhelming, especially if you are unprepared. Not being ready for something and it happening is, in my mind, one of them situations where it could be a fight or flight. And when we are talking about things that alter your psyche and your level of consciousness, there is a layer of risk that just comes with that, because it's like, how do you maintain a grip in that fight or flight situation? And it's mental. For some people, that can be hard. It can be challenging, and it can also be exhausting because they've, one, never been in that situation before, and two, if you are one of those people who suffer with something like anxiety or depression, hero doses can actually induce or intensify that already. It can also bring up and out repressed emotions and or trauma. especially if there's a layer of fear that is underlying as well. Those things can be overwhelming. Some people go into a situation like, look, I don't know what I'm gonna expect, but I know I have the following coping mechanisms in my back pocket. I have the following methods of regulating my emotions, talking through my feelings. I have a healthy practice of having a small network of people who are willing to be a resource for me under these circumstances. And so there's a level of preparedness that is there. There is a level of trust that they have already established beyond the scope of the medicine itself. And so, one, being prepared is your first step. And if you haven't done that, this is why I keep telling people, do your research, build your community, listen to the people who are willing to talk. Number two, psychological after effects. Those are a thing. Post-trip depression is a thing. You can feel emotionally drained, and that is normal and typical of the experience. I like to explain this in the way that I do with serotonin production in the body. And this is something that's common when we're talking about things like ecstasy and MDMA. Those are called happy substances because they cause your body to produce serotonin. And so on a normal day, you could have 30 Legos of serotonin naturally producing in your body. And then you introduce this MDMA or this ecstasy, and now you're at 70 Legos worth of serotonin. You feel like you on top of the world. And then when it wears off, your serotonin level is gonna go back to normal. And so that depression that you may feel afterwards is one of them things where it's like, you really not depressed. You just back to normal, which is less than what you were used to feeling 4 hours ago. So having that system reset happen, that can be a thing with hero doses as well, because it's just, you have introduced something that will cause an overproduction. But beyond that, there are things that happen mentally and emotionally as far as epiphanies and realizations, and you have to allow yourself the space and time to process those things. You never know what could come up, so your load in itself could be heavy. Having to sit back and be like, no, I thought about this, I felt like this was good, this was bad, I didn't like this, I felt this, I don't know why this came up, but it did, and now I'm crying and my feelings are hurt. Or it brought up the fact that I'm still not done being angry about a situation. Or again, those repressed emotions, those repressed feelings, those all can come up all at the same time sometimes. And then on top of that, if we are in a situation where we're not prepared, and we have emotional things that are coming up, and we're emotionally drained, and we have all these different things that are just like word vomiting out, that can be a very intense experience. That can also be a thing where people are completely turned off to it, and I get it, but understand that hero dosing is something that you should work up to. It's not something that you like, all right, you know what, I'm gonna just jump 2 feet in. It is not. You would be doing yourself the greatest disservice to just jump 2 feet in and be completely unprepared. And then on top of that, let's add another layer of people not understanding that when you go against a force, that there is a more intense level of dealing with, managing, or mitigating the force itself. Even in self-defense, if somebody were to grab you from behind, your best bet at defending yourself is to go back with them as well, in the hopes that they may fall. If somebody pulls you forward, go forward with them, so that the force is now also in their direction, and now they're off balance and you have a chance to get away. A lot of these things are overlapping, but I do want to bring them to the forefront, because although hero dosing is something that I do often, there's a level of preparedness, there's a level of acceptance, there's a level of going with the force and not fighting against it that I am just willing to do. I don't always need to be in control, and I think that that is a big piece of being able to handle a heroic dosage of anything. But also too, there's another layer of what I'm gonna call dangerous behavior, and this is from more of a health perspective. Hero dosing may not be ideal for you if you have cardiovascular complications or health conditions, or if you suffer from something like epilepsy. Because in some of those situations, the reality versus the experience may be something that's hard to separate, especially because a hero dose in the wrong setting is a setup. Also too, there are psychiatric risks. Like I said, this is something that we are talking about alters your state of consciousness. It is called a psychedelic because it changes your psyche. It alters things in your mind. And so hero doses could have the potential to exacerbate mental health conditions, especially things like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, severe anxiety, and things of that nature. In saying all of this, I do want this to serve as a point of harm reduction and safety first. I get that it sounds cool to be able to say, oh yeah, I did this much and I did this much and it was nothing, and have that in your back pocket as a bragging right. But there are people who eat a whole ounce of mushrooms and they still don't be a better person. They don't change. They don't grow at all. They're not doing it with a healthy intention behind it. They're not trying to learn anything or become a better person. And so when we have situations like that where people just want to brag on the amount that they're able to consume and handle, it just comes across as junky and it doesn't contribute positively to any psychedelic space. I do feel that hero doses are the doses that humble you and that inspire your respect. If you choose to hero dose, I would err on the side of caution and preparedness. Please do this respectfully. Have an intention. Figure out why you're doing it. If you can't figure out why you're doing it, refrain. If you don't trust the people that you're around when you do it, refrain. If you're doing it alone and you don't have the support, refrain. If you do not have steady health conditions, refrain. If you suffer from any mental illness, please be responsible and love yourself enough to refrain. If you have psychological struggles and challenges, please be honest with yourself and refrain. If you are not one of those people who can face your anxiety, who can hold yourself accountable, or do not do well with taking things to the chin, please refrain. If you are scared for your ego or pride to be resolved, please refrain. If you are not willing to have open and honest conversations with yourself and with others, please refrain. I don't know how much more I could tell y'all that I care, but if you are not mature enough to handle it, be adult enough to turn it down. I hope that y'all really understand and see my point. I really hope that y'all take what I'm saying to heart and take it seriously, because no matter what it is, safety first. I cannot stress that enough. It is something that has been good to me because I have always operated safely, and when I learned something that may have made me realize that I was not operating safely, I immediately pivoted and made the changes necessary. I hope that you all will do that as well. Approach hero doses with caution and in safe environments should you choose to do it. Hey, this is not encouragement. It is an educational plea for safety. I'm giving you my experience. I'm giving you my research in this short video. Please take heed to it. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, comment, like, and subscribe, and I will catch y'all on the flip side. Peace out, mushy buddies.